Hello and welcome. Ooh, look at those Chanel tweeds. Finally, some Chanel tweeds in Chanel month. So some of them are finished, like this lovely one. Others, not quite so much.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
Oh, I really had to fight the urge to put these in color order, let me tell you. So I've divided them into 4 different lots. There's the ones that are cut out but not at all made, and there's only 3 of those, plus some other ones because I'm organising Halloween month as well. Then there are the partially made ones. Basically, they just need the arms attached. A lot of the hand sewing is done, so the tweed is attached to the backing and that sort of thing. And I've also made the linings. So yeah, there's several of those. I think there's 6 of those. And then we have the jackets that are basically made, but I haven't sewn the lining in. I also made the lining, so yeah, but I was basically leaving it off because I couldn't decide whether to bead with it on or off. Anyway, I'll get to that. And then we have the jackets that are made. There they are. Oh, they're so beautiful. Chanel tweed is just the most gorgeous thing to wear and also to work with. So I thought we'd start with the ones that are finished to, give me some hope because I'm getting a bit stressed with how many half-made ones there still are to make. So first up, they're roughly in chronological order. So this is the first Chanel tweed I ever bought, I think, and they if you don't know, Chanel tweeds are hideously expensive, but they are totally worth it because they really are the most beautiful fabrics and, well, the most beautiful ones that I work with anyway. And here's a close-up. And as you can see, I used a looser vintage style pattern for this one, the McCall's. It's now out of print. And so with this one, I block faced it. So I sort of hand sewed the entire piece of fabric to some backing fabric, and then I cut out my pieces. Then I hand sewed all of those to the backing as well, and then I sewed it up. And I wasn't that great at sewing back then. So it's not perfect. But as you can see, the cuffs don't have any trim on them because I was worried about the bit on the waist, them rubbing against each other when I walked. And as you can see in the next one I did, which was the navy blue one, that I love this tweed so much. It's a summer weight one, so it's a cotton base rather than a wool base. And then they sort of lay all the other fancy threads in as well. So as you can see with this one, I put the false pocket tops on, and I also made trim for around the cuffs. And these are again 3/4 sleeves, the looser vintage style jacket. And there's a close-up of the actual tweed. It's so pretty. And I thought for when I got all my tweeds out again at the end of last year, I thought I was going to redo the trim on the beaded trim on this one because I've put some royal blue beads in there, and I'm one of those people who doesn't like mixing my navy and my royal blue. But then I went to pull the trim off and redo it, and I just couldn't. I really do like it, and yeah, it's got the Italian Pierre Cardin silk, printed silk lining. And and then the third one I made was this one here, which is another summer weight one. And it's kind of more boring than I wanted. So the store that I used to get these from doesn't exist anymore. It was an elderly gentleman who ran it, and he retired long time ago. And I was looking because as you can see, the other ones are really beautiful, rich colors, and this one, I don't know, I just felt it was a bit boring, so I almost didn't buy it, but I'm so glad I did. And yeah, so because it was kind of boring, I bought this digital print silk, and this is from over a decade ago. So digital print silk was this hot new thing. And yeah, this one, I guess it looks like a mess, but it was just sort of showing off what digital print could do back then. So yeah, so those were my first ones. And then I think the next one was the vest that I made, the sort of cream colored vest. And then these other, yeah, this one here, it's sort of mostly beige and cream, but it's also got some navy in there, some white and some caramel. So I sort of picked up on really loved the caramel in this one. I thought it was, yeah, because Chanel Tweeds is sort of mostly really complementary colours, but then they also throw a bit of grit in there to sort of catch your eye. And yeah, once your eye sort of catches on something, you sort of notice all the detail in there, like there's over a dozen different types of white, cream and beige wools and cottons in there, and different yarns, and it's just so beautiful and complex. I love it. And so yeah, I think this was the first trim where I used little pebbles, like polished stones in there, and there's some gold beads in there and vintage sequins, and yeah, it's really detailed, much more so than anything else I'd done, so I was quite proud of it. Yeah. So then next we have this flagged one. It's kind of navy, white and fluoro, and I just love the when there's bits of ribbon cut and they're tied around a bit of yarn, it's called flagged because there's tiny little flags of ribbon. Anyway, yeah, this is the first full-on flagged one tweed that I ever got, or flagged Chanel, I should say. I think I've got some Lintons that were flagged. But yeah, I just fell in love with this one the minute I saw it. And this is the first jacket where I sewed the structural layer, the front two panels of the structural layer together, but then I laid the Chanel tweed over the top, just in one piece, didn't cut it into two, because I didn't want the the mismatch of the pattern sort of thing. And yeah, I think it turned out really well. And I used those cocktail animals in the trim. So yeah, I love it so much, but yeah, it's a pain to wear because you have to always be really careful with it. And then this one is another Chanel tweed. I bought this I bought all these three here. I've taken the vest off and put another one at the back. I bought all these three at this store of designer European fabrics, and it was run by this woman. She was so not nice. Every time I went in, I was usually wearing my actual Chanel jacket, or carrying my Chanel bag and wearing Chanel sunglasses or something like that, and she would always comment that I looked too poor to buy Chanel tweed, or something really catty. Like, she always said something mean. And I think now that I think about it, like a decade later, it's probably just that she didn't like that a younger person was investing in Chanel tweed or something. I don't know. Anyway, she was always so mean to me, and the store isn't there anymore. So I wasn't entirely surprised when that one went out of business, I have to say, because she was just needlessly unpleasant as often as she could possibly felt she could get away with. But regardless of that, I got a couple of really beautiful tweeds from that store. So yeah, these are made in Italy ones. So the summer weight ones are often made in Italy ones, and I think the heavier winter ones are sometimes made in France. So yeah, the amazing thing about this one and that back sort of greener one is that they've got metallic woven into the actual tweed, but then they've got a metallic paint sort of screen printed over the tweed once it's made, and they're just phenomenal. ultimately, I think they made this like this mill that makes these Chanel tweeds, made samples for Chanel, and then they decided to, Karl Lagerfeld decided he wanted to sort of focus on something else for that particular collection. So they didn't have any in like an actual Chanel collection. But yeah, I love them. This one I think is very Monet-ish. And I don't know, there's lemon in there. And I think purple and yellow look really, really good together. So that's why I originally did, and I had loads of yellow beads that I wanted to use up. So that's why I originally did this yellow one. But yeah, ever since I've sort of wished I'd done a sort of Monet type beading on it, but I do love that I've got that second panel of beads around the rib cage. So yeah, I do have this jar. I bought like 4 or 5 packets extra of the Monet colored beads. So yeah, I was really thinking about redoing this one, but I don't know, it's kind of a time capsule, and it's actually really comfortable having that second band around your rib cage. It just makes the jackets fit beautifully. I do love the lining in this one. So I think I'll leave it as it is, at least for another year or two. But yeah. So then the next ones that I made were a bit more adventurous with the beading. Actually, I think this navy and beige one was a little bit before. I think I might have bought the navy and beige around the same time I bought the black and white Chanel tweed, because they were really both disappointing, because I did not like this tweed. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, yuck, because I already had the other navy Chanel tweed that I have, and I adore that one so much. So yeah, I wasn't, when I saw this one, I was like, because Chanel tweed is incredibly expensive, so you kind of want to absolutely love what you're investing in. But yeah, this one, I don't know, I just, brown and blue together, I don't know, you have to be in the mood for it, I think. And I was not the day I went to the store, but I got it anyway, because that was the store where the nice gentleman owned it, and he was so lovely, and he'd got in, Chanel tweed is so expensive, and he'd bought some, so I felt like, well, you know, he went to all that trouble, because you had to go to this fair in Paris and order it from the people. So yeah, anyway, but then I got this color one after I did end up getting that one, obviously. But then I ended up getting this beautiful, beautiful bright one, which is my absolute favorite, I think. So this is me sitting down on a box beside my desk, taking pictures of it. And yeah, I had so much fun making this one. But I used these vintage transparent beads as the base for this beaded trim, and they are not my favorite. And also these big beans, my beadwork technique has improved over the last decade, not surprisingly. And now when I use a big bead, what I generally do is sort of overhang some sequins over the top of it to sort of break it up, or put a rows of smaller beads over the top, like sort of ants marching over a rock or something like that. So yeah, it just sort of breaks it up, because they're just these big blobs, and I don't know, it's just, it distracts from the beauty of the tweed, in my opinion. So yeah, I'd really love a chance to redo the beading on that, even if it's just using the exact same beads and redoing it. So yeah, next is this one. Oh my gosh, I decided to use, I was getting very experimental with the beading by this point, and this beaded trim has these, I think they're 14 or 16 millimeter glass pearls on them, and all these other really, really heavy cut glass beads. And so they're like solid glass, and oh, it's so heavy. Now it looks a bit wrinkly here, but because the beading is so heavy, it's sort of, if you have bony shoulders, it sort of gets to you after a few hours. So yeah, I found that putting the jacket just a little fraction back, so that the it means that the beading can rest on my shoulders rather than on my collarbones, sort of thing. And I found it much more comfortable to wear it that way. But yeah, it did mean that the back was sort of hanging off you. But it's a gorgeous tweed too. I think I would like to redo it though, so that take off that beading, and even if I just sort of use the same beads but did it embellished like all over, then I think the weight would be better supported, because it's just too much weight in, very specific positions at the moment. It's a bit too much to wear for a full day.
Gosh, now I think we're up to the last 3 completed jackets. These are the ones that I've done earlier, like in the first half of this year. And we will start with the banana jacket. And yeah, I love this banana Chanel. For the longest time, I worried about not getting it right. And I am just so happy with the way that this turned out. It's fabulous. And but it's just so, there's so much detail and so many things that could get caught. So it's made in a very robust way, but it's still like a handmade work of art. So it's, yeah, a little bit too fragile to wear every day, which is a shame, because I would absolutely wear the hell out of this. And I'd really, really love to make a tiny, vintage style hat that matches it, because yeah, I absolutely love it. And I was thinking about sort of covering it, because as you've seen in my earlier jackets, I used to cover the beaded trim with tulle, sort of a layer of protection. It sort of keeps everything in the right place. It's kind of like when you do your hairstyle, you sort of a lot of people spray it with hairspray, but yeah, I decided not to. I might pull take the beading off and put it on yet. I'm not sure. I love it the way it is, but yeah, it is just that little bit too fragile. And then next we have the orange Chanel tweed. I love this one so much. It's such a car wreck of a fabric. The colours are like, there's all these neutral, there's mushroom, beige in there, and then there's these fluoros and orange and sort of fluoro red as well. It's just the most chaotic mix of colours. Or when I've used Italian silk, printed silk on the inside for the lining. Yeah, this is one of my favorites too. Basically all my Chanel tweeds are my favorites, but I also have other non-Chanel tweeds which are my favorites. But I love the way this one turned out. I just love it so much. Yeah, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And then we have Little Miss Boring at the back there. It's sort of a scrambled egg coloured tweed. And it just looks like diffused sunlight to me. When you take a photo and it sort of flares because there's so much sunlight and it sort of fades to white. I just love it so much. And yeah, the pearls kind of look boring, but they're each applied like by hand, and there's no marks on there telling me where to put them or anything like that. So it is quite a skilled process to do it, and takes a long time. So yeah, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And I know it seems boring, but it just makes that tweed sing. I love it. Okay, well, that's the last of the completely done ones. There they all are. Oh, they're so pretty. Hard to decide which ones where. They're all beautiful. So next are the ones that aren't even put together, or not a single pin in them yet. The beading are for 2 Chanel ones. And then I've got these 3 here. Oh, and these are the Halloween ones I spoke of. We've got an Italian tweed on the end, then a Linton tweed, then one I bought off Etsy, and then one I bought at Mood Fabrics. It's dead stock from Marc Jacobs. So it's designer dead stock.
and it's metallic and sparkly. And yeah, I chose them because they've got orange in them. So I thought, oh, Halloween. Anyway, these are the 3 Chanels. And yeah, I've got loads of fringe for this one. So I keep putting it off because I genuinely cannot decide whether or not to use the fringe. But yeah, I cannot decide. A lot of the independent fabric stores that actually went to Paris to the Premier Vision Trade Expo every 6 months to get the Chanel tweeds. Yeah, a lot of those businesses have closed down now. They've just it is a lot of trouble. You sort of have to know the secret handshake to become someone who sells Chanel tweed, and you have to fork out an absolute fortune, not just for the fabric, but then just to get it out of Europe, so France or Italy, and back into whatever country you're selling it in. It's yeah, most people just want cheap fabric and they don't really care where it's from, or they sort of care, but not several $1,000s per yard care, if you get what I mean. And yeah, so anyway, I completely understand why those independent sellers just decided to give up, because it is a very uphill battle. Anyway, so the navy one, and that I've put off because I don't know whether to put fringe on it or not. Same with the green and pink one. I've got fringe, but I don't know that I'll use it. And then I've got the fluoro vanilla one as well. This one, I just know how gorgeous it would be if I did the ivory pearls all over it, embellished all over it. But I also have some fluoro coloured ones. So yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to bead that one. Anyways, the next set of jackets are the ones which are sort of made-ish, but the lining isn't attached. So yeah, I spent the first few months of this year finishing all the hand sewing. So I had about maybe 20 yards of silk, and must be more than that. Anyway, I cut all the lining out of all of them, and yeah, that took ages because I sort of had to be very, very careful in my cutting so that I got enough I could fit all the pieces. So yeah, all the lining's done, but yeah, I had to sew it and had to hand sew all the seam allowances down. So yeah, I've got another slim fit jacket in the black and white, and then the colourful and pink and white, and then what do you know, it's yet another navy blue Chanel tweed. This is a winter weight one, and I just love it so much. And then this is a brownish golden one, which does not photograph well, but it's absolutely glorious in person. And I've got quite a few different, over the years I've collected quite a few hand blown glass beads that will just look so beautiful on it. And then here's another winter weight Chanel tweed. Oh, I love this magenta one. I actually bought enough for 2 jackets. One is going to have fringe, which I made by hand, and then the other one is still in bits. So you'll see that in the bits and parts section. And then the last one in this section, I think, no, I've got 2 more, is this, it's sort of a tealy green, forest green, and it's really beautiful in person. The fabric equivalent of She Has a Lovely Personality. But anyway, I like the bits of caramel in there. And then next we have a vintage Chanel tweed. This was featured, there was a Chanel jacket that the Charlotte character of Sex and the City wore in one of the early seasons. And she wore it, the jacket was made out of this particular tweed, and it had like a velvet ribbon as the trim. I'm not going to do a velvet ribbon because yeah, I don't want to copy anyone, but it's a really nice tweed. And then the last one I have is this sort of oceanic and black one, and I don't know, I don't particularly like those colors, but it's Chanel tweed, so I just bought it.
Okay, the next batch of jackets we have are ones that, well, this one, the two sleeves are different. So I have to unpick one of the sleeves. Oops, sorry about my finger. And put it back, reattach. So hours of fun for there. Yeah, unpicking is not my favourite thing, especially when it's something as expensive as a Chanel tweed. But I do have this gorgeous Italian silk for the lining, and it's Pierre Cardin, again, a floral print. It's a classic one rather than one of the more beautiful modern ones, but I bought it anyway because it was, I don't know, I felt like it suited the jacket. And then we have all these ones here, and yeah, they need their sleeves set, and just, yeah, hours and hours of fun. But all the invisible work's been done. So the hand sewing, where you attach you sort of stitch the tweed to the backing fabric, all that work's been done, which is by far the most time consuming part. So yeah, I just have to attach the sleeves, and then all the linings mostly done for these ones. And that tweed was gorgeous. It's got tiny little blue sequins in it that are in the shape of flowers. And then one of these green ones used to have fringe on it, but yeah, I took it off because I put it on the cuffs and the bottom. I don't mind it when it's on the bottom. Actually, I quite like it. But yeah, on the green one, I'd put it on the cuffs as well. And I just knew it would itch me because, yeah, I'm okay with wool if it's like woven in things. But if it's just the ends of it, they just itch me like crazy. So anyway, yeah. I think I'll make one mainly blue beads and one with mainly green beads for those ones. And then I've got the pink. It's sort of a pink, mauvey pink, whites and some bright red in there. It's such a beautiful tweed. I just love it so much. Every time I get it out, and there's miniature sequins in there as well. Every time I get it out, I just stare at it. It's one of those really, really beautiful ones. But it's so gorgeous. I don't know what embellishment I'm going to do with it. So yeah, I'm so tempted with all of these ones just to pick one type of bead. Like I've got these dark blue pearls, and I just feel like the green one of the green ones, if I just put dark blue pearls all over it, it would just look so gorgeous. Anyway, this is the last one. And that one's from a few years ago. You probably recognise it. It's a pretty well-known Chanel tweed for, Chanel tweeds are pretty obscure. But yeah, that one, if you know any of them, you probably remember that one from one of the collections. So yeah, lots of work still to go. And of course, there's those little pile in the corner. I think I'll do the navy one first because I've still got black thread in my sewing machine. But yeah, I just love those other two as well. But I'm hoping to get all three of these done in August and September. And I also have the two beading ones
inspired by the Chanel collection that was all about flowers. Well, one of them's going to be beading and flowers, and the other one's just going to be sequins. This collection was absolutely fabulous. It was one of Karl Lagerfeld's last collection, so he was quite ill, and he sort of let Lesage take the reins with what they should do creatively. Like they bought samples, and he's like, do your best, and they really did. So yeah, I was thinking I'll make two tiny little bolero jackets, barely there, and the first one will be like the top half of of this particular coat, and then the bottom half will be all flowers and the big white sequin things. So yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing with those. And then I also have scraps left over from the Chanel tweeds, and I was thinking maybe I'll do a patchwork Chanel one. Like at first I was thinking maybe I'll use all the different purples from all the different types of tweeds that I have. But then, yeah, I sort of jealously guard my Chanel tweed scraps. So I'm not sure. I'm just sort of storing them at the moment. And once I've done all the actual tweeds, I think I'll do the patchwork ones. But yeah, I often over on Instagram, because I've got, there's quite a big community over there. I just so often get requests, like people saying, "You've got enough jackets, give me stuff, give me stuff, give me stuff." And I'm like, well, either you know how much I've invested in these things and you're trying to rob me blind, or you don't know enough and you don't appreciate. Anywho, that's my Chanel collection, and I love them all dearly. And yes, I'm not going to give away any of them anytime soon. I had to earn my money just like everyone else. So yeah, these are investments, and they just make me happy. I love them. Some people collect artworks, and yeah, this is what I collect. And I love that I get to make them even more unique by adding beading and beaded trims to them. So yeah, it's a process, but I'm getting there.
Oh, I forgot to mention, this is only a vest and not a long sleeve one, because this is all the fabric they had left. I went in as soon as I got the email telling me that he had Chanel's tweed in stock in the store. I went in and yeah, that's all they had left. So yeah, there's lots of people like me. We just, as soon as we know that Chanel tweed, we get that call saying, you know, the back signal goes up and the Chanel tweeds are in, then we all zoom in and try and get our few meters or yards depending on where we are in the world. And hopefully we get some. But anyway, so the first thing I do, so the next video will be me making this navy Chanel tweed up into a jacket. And then I will finish the rest of the jackets so that they're just ready for beading. And then, yeah, in September will probably be me making the other two tweeds, the vanilla, fluoro vanilla one and the pink and green one up into jackets. So yeah, I think I'll just, by the end of September, I want to have everything made. Oh, and also I'll make those two tiny little bolero jackets for the floral one and the sequin beaded one. So yeah, by the end of September, I want to have all the jackets finished. But none of them beaded, because if I bead them now, they will all be like this armadillo one or the scrambled egg one at the back with the ivory all over pearls, because yeah, I just love the way those two turned out. So yeah, I think I better just leave them hanging, like the finished jackets hanging for a bit. Otherwise they'll just be, I'll have like blue pearls on the green and blue one and green glass beads on the other green and blue one, and the magenta one will just be purple and magenta beads or pearls, or yeah. So I think I'll leave it for a bit and until I get out of this mood where I'm absolutely in love with the ones that I've just recently done. So yeah, I kind of want them there to be a bit of variation. But even if I do just do one type of bead all over on the ones that are yet to be done, I know I love them. So yeah, I'm not too fussed. I kind of trust my instincts these days with my beading at any rate. So yeah, thank you for watching. And this is my Chanel tweed collection, which is very much under construction. And hopefully in another 6 weeks, by the end of September, it will be a lot closer to all being done.